Good afternoon and welcome back to the Workbench. Today I want to do a video on this Xbox 360 here, which I would like to use but I can't because of a certain problem with it. Now I'll show you what that is in a second. I'll just switch over to my other video input and I'll turn it on. This is connected through composite output, so the picture won't look that great, but it goes to show that the thing does in fact work. It powers on. But I'll show you what happens if I try and actually play anything. Eject the this is a second hand. This is one here. If I put a game in, we can see well, there you go. It doesn't work. Obviously, you've got the parental lock here. This is a R16 game, so obviously it's been set to, I guess, you know, just general kids games, and won't play anything else. Which is a problem. Now, of course, this being a second-hand one, bought second-hand, there's no way to know who the owner was. There's no way to contact them. There's no way to know what the code was. So at that point, it's kind of like, well, what do you do? So I went online and had a look to see if there was any like secret reset feature or anything you could restore the code by doing like a reset, and I don't believe that's possible, but I did find an article on Hackaday where someone created a little program around an Arduino to emulate a keyboard, which also will let you input this code. Hang on. And the idea being that it will just brute force the code, starting from 0000 and then go all the way through to 9999. Obviously that takes a while, but apparently there's no lockout thing for this. Obviously because it doesn't really protect your account or anything, it just protects the game rating, whatever, so it's not a big deal. You know, you're not going to be able to steal anyone's password or steal their credit card or anything like that through this. If you've already got access to the thing, then you've already got that if it's signed in, I guess. But yeah, you just can't play any games with it. So I've found his video that he made on that, and I'll link that in the article and everything. And I found his website and downloaded the code, and it's for an Arduino. I don't know, some clone copy version, a custom design, basically based on the Leonardo, which is an Atmega 32U4, I believe, which enables it to act as a USB device. Possibly even a USB host, I'm not sure, but USB device definitely. I don't have a Arduino Leonardo, but I do have this Teensy 2.0++ here. Well, a clone again, but you know, that also does have the USB peripheral support. I mean, you can get virtual ones, VUSB. There's a library for Arduino that you can emulate USB devices, but this was easiest. This is what I had lying around, and that was the easiest way to do it. I could just do it straight through the thing. I just downloaded the software for the Teensy and installed that into Arduino, and I was able to download his code, the guy that did this originally, and I just modified it a little bit to run on this, and it seems to be working fine. So if I go to the settings option, go to family, you see we get the passcode thing here, and if I just plug this in, it's just connected by a USB cable. Plug this in to the Xbox here. And we'll power up, and in a bit you'll be able to see it starts entering the codes. It's a little bit slow, but it does it. It's automatically, basically, counts through the numbers, like I said. 0000, press enter, retry if it doesn't work, and then 0001, 0002, 0003, and all the way up. So basically you only have 10,000 codes this can possibly have, so brute forcing it like this is actually not too bad. I mean, according to his video, this will take maximum about 17 hours, which is not too bad. I mean, the other option you have for this is to dump the flash memory of the console, and you can find the code stored in there apparently. Obviously that requires taking the console apart, soldering to the main board, dumping the flash memory or desoldering the flash chip or whatever, which is not in itself a hard task, although this being a slim version, I'm not sure if it's as easy as with the fat version, original one. I do know this is probably not the slimmest one. I think this is like not the super slim. I do have one of those somewhere else, but yeah, I can't test that because I don't have a power supply for it. They use a different power supply. There's 3 different power supplies with 3 different plugs, so you can only use the right one for the different console, which is kind of annoying. But yeah, so this thing will just keep going for however long it needs to take till it gets the right code. I already tried the most obvious codes like 1, 2, 3, 4, and all zeros or all one single number or anything like that. But yeah, it's clearly a custom code that's someone's put in, and I wouldn't have a clue what it is, but it doesn't matter. This thing will go through all of them. I know it enters the code quite slowly. I don't know if that's... I think he had this idea of having like a variable delay between key inputs, so to make the console believe it was being done by a user and not by a robot, which I don't know if that's strictly necessary. I don't think the console really has a advanced anti-lockout thing for this. I think you can probably do it faster than this and probably don't need a variable delay that I know of. Then again, maybe he tried that and found that it does. I don't know. No idea, but yeah, still, I mean, maximum 17 hours to go through all the codes. It's not that bad. You can just leave the thing going, overnight or whatever, or all day, and it should be done. I don't expect this will complete any time while doing this video. I'm not really going to film all this, so anyway, but you can definitely see there is a code. I don't know it. This console is second hand. I wouldn't have a clue. But I'll leave this going, and once it finishes, I'll come back and obviously show that the code has been disabled and that I'll be able to actually run this game. And that will be proof that the thing works, I suppose. Hopefully, anyway. Unless it suddenly just gets the right code in about the next 10 seconds. But I expect not. Probably hasn't even got up to 100 yet. So, yeah. But yeah, there we go. It's a relatively simple way. Doesn't require any soldering, doesn't require taking the console apart, doesn't require dumping the flash or anything like that. So you can be a much easier way of doing it. You just have to wait a while. Alright, so it's about 3.5 hours later. I went out and I came back. I just left this thing going. And it seems, now that it's trying to connect to a network, it looks like it has in fact cracked the code, I assume anyway. You can see it's just cycling through this, and it keeps, this thing sends out 4 digits and then presses enter to retry the code in case it doesn't get it right. So it's obviously just pressing enter over and over now to try and connect to that Ethernet, which obviously isn't plugged in. So it just keeps doing that. But yeah, whether or not it's finished, I don't know. But I guess I'll unplug this anyway, because we don't need that on there anymore. And if it hasn't worked, then I have to reset and go from the start anyway, because it could have missed out on a code if it somehow went to this. But if I connect to this, go back. Let's see, I don't know, did it work? Did it work, or did it go out and something else? Family. No, it doesn't seem to have worked. Why has it done that? I mean, according to the video I saw, it should have just gone back to this screen here and not done anything, so I don't know why it's why it went to that network connection screen, unless it's oh, I know what might have happened. Auto off after 1 hour. Yeah. That's probably the problem. Yeah, that would make sense, wouldn't it? So, damn. Okay, well there you go. That's a good good thing to think about. Network settings. Yeah, I guess it may have powered off after an hour. Maybe. I mean it shouldn't have, because obviously it was getting keyboard input. Unless there's some sign-in preferences. I mean that's not turned to sign on by default, so I don't know. Is there anything? No, I mean there's nothing set up here, is there? Family. Huh. Oh well. Guess I'll just have to do this all again. Oh dear. Oh well. That's interesting. That may be a good point. Don't have automatic power off enabled, otherwise that'll probably mess everything up. So there we go. I didn't think of that. Oops. That button is annoyingly easy to press. Well, I guess I'll try it again and see if it goes for more than an hour, and just see what happens. Give it another try, and I'll come back and say it's a pity I didn't know what it got up to. Yeah, I mean there's no interaction between this and the actual console apart from just blindly sending keystrokes. So, you know, if you knew that it glitched up or stopped somewhere, you could maybe, you know, tell it to start again from that number, so you wouldn't have to do all those numbers again. But unfortunately, that's not possible, because how does it know? You'd have to have like a camera set up to look at the screen, and you know, some kind of like AI thing to interpret the messages, I suppose, or something. So yeah, it's not going to work. Oh well, I'll leave it running again, and hopefully it works this time. And if not, well, maybe I'll end up having to dump the flash memory and read the code out of that. I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, that's interesting. Well, see you later then if this works. Alright, so it's the next morning. I set the thing up and left it running all night. I did change the code actually, so I reduced the delay for the keystrokes and the delay for the retry enter thing, and it seems like it's worked. So I calculate that with my current settings it would probably take a maximum of about 3 hours. I reduced the key delay random time from between 20 and 100 milliseconds from 500 to 1500 milliseconds, and I reduced from 1.5 seconds or 1500 milliseconds the entity time down to 500 milliseconds, which I think is probably the fastest you can do before it'll actually would be too fast for the actual retry screen. So I'll just unplug this, although it doesn't really matter. I mean, at this point the thing will have finished. I think the code is designed so that it will stop once it reaches 10,000 anyway, so you don't actually have to worry about that. So yeah, we're here now at the content control screen. The thing's obviously turned on, and as you can see, game rating here PG, so that's obviously why I couldn't run this, because it's R16 obviously. So yeah, so now I guess at this point all we have to do is just turn the controller back on. Hang on. There we go. And just go down there and turn that off. So it looks like, interestingly, I can't turn it back on again without entering the code. So now it's off, but that's good. I can save that, and there we go. It's back to that. So I mean, obviously, I guess if you wanted to, I assume, if you want to change the passcode, you can do that. I don't actually know how this thing works. I've never used this parental control thing before. But yeah, it seems to work. So that's turned off, which is all I really care about. I guess, yeah, I can't turn that back on without entering the code. Obviously I could if I ran this again, but I'd have to wait another 3 hours. But I don't care. The thing's off. So there we go. So that should be fine. So if I stick the game in, it should work, I suppose. Let's see. Haha! Look at that. Looks absolutely terrible because obviously I'm running composite video on a widescreen LCD, which doesn't really make any sense, but there we go. The thing seems to work, so yeah. Look at that dot crawl. I don't know if you can see that, but lovely. Anyway, of course this thing doesn't actually have a hard drive in it, so oh yeah, no memory. Okay, it has some kind of storage in it, but yeah, you can see the aspect ratio is all stretched out and looks terrible, but yeah, there we go. A usable Xbox. So anyway, that's that. So this thing definitely does work. There doesn't seem to be any lockout on these things at all, so it's obviously gone through however many codes it needed to. You can reduce the delay. I mean, I don't know what version of firmware this is running. It was 2.0 point something, but I think they're all that. I'm not sure actually. I'm not an Xbox expert. Xbox expert. But yeah, you can definitely make this thing a lot faster, so you can bring it down, I guess. Yeah, I think this would have been, maximum 3 hours, probably a lot less actually. In fact, the thing it's probably got the code about half an hour after I went to bed, so yeah. Anyway, I didn't want to stay up, so I just left it going. But yeah, there you go. I mean, I'll put a link to this code that I modified. If you have one of these Teensies, you can use this Arduino code. If you have the one he used, the Leonardo or whatever it was, or the clone version of that, you can use his code, I guess, directly. Or obviously, if you're clever enough, you can just write your own with whatever USB supported dev kit you have, whatever. I don't know if you can use a Raspberry Pi or anything like that. Maybe you can. I mean, I found even a on the VUSB forum website thing, which is a virtual USB stack. I think I mentioned that before yesterday, or 10 minutes ago, depending on how this video works. Anyway, but yeah, I think you can implement a basic thing on a Atmega 8 or any other basic microcontroller, I think. Just to bit bang the USB basically. I don't know how reliable that would be, if that would work. I mean, it should work. They seem to be a commonly used library, so yeah. I don't know why this has Samsung on it. Guess it must be sponsored by them or something. Anyway, yeah. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't want to take the effort. It'll probably take me like a week to figure out how to use the virtual USB thing to make this work. So yeah, it was much easier just to convert the existing code to use on the Teensy there. But yeah, anyway, whatever works for you, I guess you can do it, and this obviously does work. So yeah, I think, like I said, a 20 millisecond keystroke delay, about there, I guess, is probably the minimum, and the 500 millisecond delay before it presses enter, sends enter command to retry from the retry screen is probably about the minimum you can get away with, I think. Yeah, and that'll only take about, I think, 3 hours or less. I think it's 2.7 hours I calculated, maybe, if my calculations are correct. But yeah, it anyway, or overnight seems to work. So yeah, there we go. That would have been yeah, I think I started at about 10 o'clock and it's now 6 in the morning, 6:30 maybe. So yeah, I mean that's 8 hours. It finished within 8 hours, so I'm pretty sure it's I'm sure it's a lot less than that. But anyway, that's that, and that's done, and you can see it works. So yeah, if you forget your code, or if you buy a second-hand Xbox that has one and you can't remember what it is, you can use this to get rid of it. I believe you can change the code. I didn't try. I messed that up because I turned it off before I changed it, so apparently you still need to get the code to turn it back on again to actually change the code. But I suppose you could just I could just run that again if I wanted to waste another couple of hours. But I can't really be bothered because it doesn't really matter. I'm never going to use that setting, so I'll just leave it off. And yeah. So that's interesting. That's nice. So I can play this glorious 640 by 480 or something, and with a really hideous dot crawl on it. Should probably connect that to my TV with HDMI. It'll look a lot better. Anyway, that's that. Hopefully that was useful. Hopefully it was enjoyable. Yeah, hopefully it'll be of use to someone. See you next time.